Hello, we are live from Las Vegas, sitting here in the Influencer Lounge. I have Brent from Sensormatic. So Brent, tell us about your role in the company and what you're seeing today.
Great. Well, thank you, Deborah. I'm delighted to be here with you. I'm enjoying Las Vegas. It's always a treat to be in warm weather, especially coming from Canada.
True, very true.
So my role at Sensormatic is I am the Senior Vice President and General Manager of our North American Business Unit. And that includes all three of our business products in the loss prevention space, and our inventory intelligence and RFID business, as well as our traffic business that we sell under ShopperTrack.
That's a lot. I mean,
it
it's been very interesting, right, as the macro environment has continued to evolve, and right, we're seeing significant inflation. And we've heard, some chatter around the slowing traffic in the past few weeks. What can you share with us?
Around the traffic?
Mm-hmm.
We definitely continue to see from a traffic perspective an uptick in movement of consumers into retail stores. And that's been
which has been very positive. Return. It's been great.
We're very happy to see that. And I think that's actually happened around the globe. Are we back to the levels that we were before? Probably not. But it's been a delight to see that it's come back as strong as it has. And of course, we watch the augmentation of more online consumers as well, really combining with that new the return of the customer to the retail store.
You led into my next question. So, this whole inventory intelligence aspect, as we think about, physical stores and, consumers have, changed their habits and they're shopping both for sure. But as we think about, right, many retailers are utilizing their stores almost as warehouses.
Yes.
And so they're either, whether it's for BOPUS or even for delivery, when we think about inventory intelligence and needing to know what items are in which stores that you can fulfill a customer order, can you talk a little bit about how that works? What part of this does Sensormatic kind of really power, and what do you see as the future?
Sure. I think what we have seen over the years is that consumers have always tried to identify and do the best they possibly can with identifying inventory, especially as it comes to fulfilling to a consumer's demand and holding on a brand promise. That's the holy grail. But one thing that we do know is that over the course of a given year, a retailer's position on inventory will degrade over time. When we get to the part of the year when it matters the most around Thanksgiving and Christmas, and their position around accuracy of inventory is actually at the lowest point in a given year. And that's kind of a difficult place to know, ironic. And one of the things that we do with the technology that we offer in RFID is to really help retailers return that accuracy back to the point at which they started the year. So they can actually enter into the busiest time of the year with confidence that they know what products they have on hand and where those products are. So when it comes to fulfilling on a customer demand in a store, you can do it. And when it comes to fulfilling for an online order where you might be using the store to fulfill that order, that we can do that with 100% confidence as well. That's a big advantage for our customers who want to, respond to their customer demand and really hold to their brand promise.
And then as we see this kind of, throughout the rest of 22, do you see more retailers utilizing their stores in different ways, especially where we have challenges around, enough kind of 3PL space or whatever it might be? How do you see retailers continuing to change that relationship, and how is kind of the inventory intelligence aspect, how is that changing as well?
Well, it's important to really think about the stores as experiential, and I think a lot of people are focused around how do we leverage the brick and mortar more effectively for people to experience their brand and experience the products that they have, because you just don't get that online. I think by the time people, they might do their investigation before they probe, but in a lot of cases, people still like to go to the store and they like to see products and they want to experience. So a lot of retailers are beginning to say, what do we do to change that environment, to augment the experience for the consumer? That's not just about having the right products at the right places at the right time, which is critical. It's also, what do we do in the store to make that experience different? Can we do more self-checkout? Can we help, take friction out of the returns process if we're trying to exchange to something else? So a whole set of technologies that really help augment that experience so that there's less friction and a better experience for customers.
The return process, it's interesting. There's been two, I think, camps here at Shop Talk. So one is that if we make it easier for the customer, ultimately they'll buy more, they'll still return, but overall we'll be in a different place. And then there's the flip side where you have kind of the sustainability angle and whatnot. Can you talk about kind of Sensormatic's role in all of this?
Yeah, sure. We're pretty big on sustainability initiatives. We launched our own in this space about 3 months ago, and there's some great pieces that we publicized on that. But one thing for sure is we want to make the store experience one that reduces the need for components as part of a sale to a customer. And what we mean by that is we want the products to sell in a way that the consumer can buy and utilize, or the consumer can buy, and if they need to return or they need to exchange, that there's technology that really makes that possible in a way that's differentiated from the competition. So sustainability is important. We make sure that power is part of that story. We want to make sure that even from a labor perspective of people working in the store, how do we reduce the need for labor at key times? I mean, every aspect of that store environment ties back to labor in one way, shape, or form. So we want to make sure that the solutions that we have also help reduce the need for people who don't need it now.
Yeah, and labor's been such a challenge for everybody, as we all know. I've heard at this conference. So as we think about one of the other pain points that many retailers have talked about around supply chain, right? Kind of the whole end-to-end. Can you help us understand, right, as people want to know kind of, it's like, where is my stuff? How can Sensormatic not only kind of power but also augment what retailers already have? Yeah, well, one thing that we've experienced is supply chain challenges ourselves, because the technology that we're providing to our customers are falling under the same demands in the global marketplace. So we are wrestling through those challenges as well, and that's across the board, I think, for everybody. The important piece of that for us, though, in the technology side is ensuring that we implement solutions that help the retailer track the availability of product from the point of manufacture right through the supply chain, from the manufacturer to the distribution center out to the store. Obviously, the best technology to do that today is the use of RFID, and we've got a large number of customers who are doing that today and giving them real visibility right from the start of that manufacturing process to the point of fulfillment to the consumer. And when you can do that, you really have control over that experience for the consumer. They get what they want when they want it. If you don't have it, you're really flying blind, and you're waiting to see and hoping that something might arrive to fulfill to that customer. That's not good enough in this day and age. And we're seeing a very large retailer who is, got a significant initiative around kind of RFID, and one I think that was very early in the space. Why do you think we're hearing this more and more? But that's definitely been kind of one of the latest. Like, why now? Yeah, I think COVID certainly unveiled the issue associated with knowing what we have and where it is. Because everybody, in the non-essential space, we had to shut everything down. So what was there? What was sitting in the stores? And people didn't know. So I think what then you augment that with the consumer's desire to want to buy in different ways, in different formats. So if they want to buy online, you need to be able to fulfill online. So I think what's happened is it's been a bit of a perfect storm. We're trying to understand where my products are and how much I have of those in order to move them to where the consumers feel demanding them. And the only real way to do that is to identify each product in your store so that you can fulfill on those demands from the consumer. And we've just seen that not a lot of retailers were prepared for that prior to COVID. And those who had implemented technology like this survived very nicely through it because they had full control of their inventory. So I think what we're seeing is those who hadn't are saying, I got to catch up. I need to get that. Well, it's interesting. I remember talking to one CEO, and he had, the store managers, they kind of kept working throughout the pandemic, which I thought was great. And they literally were loading up products into their cars. It was one of those, range of home, but they actually knew kind of where the product was. And they were literally packing and shipping from their homes to the point they were writing, the consumer's name, address on by hand kind of thing. And I'm like, but it was like everyone kind of figured it out. But it was also important for them to know like where the product was. So where did they, what store did they send this to? And they must have like some malls were closed, like tiptoeing through at night. But but that way they could basically be open for business at a time where many other retailers, like you said, right, there was the haves and the have-nots, but it was really based on technology solutions.
Right. There's a very simple example. When you're trying to find a product in the store, a Geiger counter capability, being able to walk through with a gun in your hand to be able to say, I'm looking for this one item because I've got a customer that wants this product. How do I ensure that I can find it and get it out the door? And the simplicity of that little solution actually delivers on a promise, to a consumer. And, so there's a lot of great examples like that with technology like RFID.
All right, so let's tackle one last really big topic that has come up at Shop Talk quite a bit, is around kind of loss prevention. Mm-hmm. And I think many retailers have talked about just some of the challenges they've faced over the past 6 to 12 months, and also what can they they want to stay open for business. They want to really incorporate their associates into many of these decisions. What are you seeing in terms of some of the best practices right now around loss prevention, and what are some of the concerns you have?
Yeah, so we have a long-standing pedigree in the area of loss prevention. I mean, we've been in Sensormatic's been in the loss prevention business for almost 50 years or so. We understand the problem of loss and liability very well, and what we have seen is that the technology that was applicable in the first 40 years hasn't necessarily advanced at the same level. So we've gone from very simplistic technology that really gave degrees of information, but not enough information. And now we're pivoting towards an era when loss prevention needs to provide more data and more information to the retailer. So, we refer to that as information-based loss prevention. And the best way to do that is to augment that with technology like RFID or other sensor technology that can be applied to not just products, but it can also be applied to fixtures or other things within the store itself. And I think what's really important about that is you identify product, but there's also a people aspect to that. And video plays into this to understand at moments of action or where there are events that have been created in a loss. You have the video footage to look at that event at the time. So what we've done is we've applied multiple layers of technology to really augment what traditional loss prevention meant. And now we're into an era or an age of information that really helps retailers deal with those loss events. And it really goes beyond just the physical store. We're starting to see that the parking lot itself is becoming an area of concern. There's a lot of liability associated with consumers in the parking lot, and nobody really cared about the parking lot before. Yeah. But it's become an area of transaction and an area, even on fulfilling online orders. You've got people coming into those parking lots now doing exchanges with Craigslist type transactions, or there's people exchanging their kids on a weekend. There's so much going on in the parking lot right now. It's an area of concern. So we see that the loss and liability isn't contained just to the physical store anymore. It extends beyond that. And the technology that we've applied to those areas really needs to go deeper. Video plays into that, RFID plays into that, and I think there's a host of other sensors that we've employed to really bring a clearer picture and a better understanding of the details of loss and liability.
A lot to digest. I mean, it really there's just a lot I think happening right now. It's actually it's the first conversation. I mean, it's funny. I always remember you'd take out a map and you would see all the WalMarts and if you were people I know who, especially during the pandemic, who were into the camper, they would go and stay in the parking lots or whatnot. Yes. So I mean, I totally understand this idea that the parking lot is a lot more than it could be your kind of your camping ground, right? I mean, it could be whatever. So that makes sense. All right, one last question. Sustainability has also been a key kind of talk either foundation or kind of layer on top at this conference. And many debates on this, I have to say. There's definitely not a one size fits all, and I don't think people are in agreement either. But this idea that companies want to be more sustainable, but they also don't want it to necessarily Consumer doesn't want to pay more, which makes sense. And in my mind, almost by definition, it shouldn't cost more, Hopefully, it saves you money, if you're living more sustainably. But what are you, from a Sensormatic perspective? what do you see that companies can do today to be more sustainable? And what do you see in the future as well?
Well, we've played a pretty active role around the reduction of all sorts of things in the store itself, and some of those things have been tied to loss prevention type scenarios. Other things have been tied to inventory. You think about waste that goes on through inventory. There's e-waste, but there's also process waste, and these are areas that we believe utilization of technology to change that is really important. So, one of our many of our customers actually use certain types of sensors that reduce the need for types of tags that get thrown in the trash. So we actually can avoid some of that e-waste by finding a tag that's recyclable and reuse them. And that's a very important part of what we've done for some of our key customers. Then I think about the consumer from a traffic perspective. We talked a little bit about this earlier around the labor associated with that. Holistically, these are pieces that are areas where we're gonna continue to look forward on it. We believe that more technology in the space can actually help reduce even further the need for energy, for product, and for people and other forms of sale and transaction. So one other thing that I would add to that is this whole area of self-service. And I think that self-service has an interesting play associated with sustainability as consumers want to reduce time, if they want to create a differentiated experience. We believe even in that scenario, a self-service type environment actually can reduce the need for a variety of different technology in the store. When you reduce technology in the store, you actually take out productivity. So lots more to happen.
Lots to talk about. All right,
Yeah.
So we talked about inventory intelligence, shopper track and traffic in the stores, looking at loss prevention and sustainability. I feel like there's a lot more to dive into on these topics. So thank you, Brent, for being with us today, and safe travels back.
Deborah, thanks for having me. Enjoyed it very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.